Hello and welcome to the Business Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Holly Wharton. I've been an entrepreneur since 1999, and I know firsthand how difficult it can be to build a business without the right mindset. This is a podcast for those of us who struggle with showing up in our business with confidence and authenticity, who resist taking big action because of fears and doubts, who know deep down that it's possible to create something bigger, and yet you're not. This podcast combines powerful strategies on how to upgrade your business mindset, along with practical business tips to grow your business more easily in a way that feels aligned. This podcast features solo shows with me and also interviews with inspiring women entrepreneurs from around the world, including my monthly co-hosted episodes with Joe Casey. My goal is to help you grow your business more quickly and easily by transforming your mindset. For me, mindset work is a lifelong practice, and I want to help you make a habit out of mindset work. Thank you so much for joining us today. Now, let's get into this week's episode. Hello and welcome to the Business Mindset Podcast, episode 253. This is your host, Holly Wharton, and I'm back with another co-hosted episode with the fabulous Joanna Hennon. Today, we ask the question, is wanting something really enough? As business owners, we all create visions for our business. We set goals, we take action. Sometimes we achieve those goals, and sometimes we don't. But is wanting something enough to actually make it happen? Is setting SMART goals enough? And are SMART goals really smart? And if they're not, what should we be doing instead? So those are some of the things that we explore on today's episode. But before we get into this conversation, I wanted to mention a podcast I was recently a guest on. It's the Productivityist podcast. And Mike Vardy and I, the host, talked about the workcation weekend. And this is something I've been talking about every once in a while in other podcasts because it's a concept that I really, really love because it's totally transformed my business and it's allowed me to write books, create new websites, and really enter into hyper-focus mode and get big projects done in short periods of time. So if you head over to hollywharton.com/productivityist, you will find this episode. And I hope you enjoy it. I think it's a really great podcast. If you are struggling with productivity or if you're doing well with productivity, but you'd like to do a little bit better, subscribe to that podcast. It's got loads of information. And if you sign up to support Mike on Patreon, you get extra stuff. He does an extra kind of mini episode with each of the people that he interviews every week. So highly recommend this show. Do check it out. That's hollywharton.com/productivityist. And you'll get redirected to Mike's website. So, back to today. Some of the things that you're going to learn today. We're going to talk about why you have to really, really want this thing that you're going for. We talk about the difference between wanting and choosing for something. We talk about why things are in flow when the thing that we choose for is the same thing that's aligned for us, and why it can be really difficult when the thing that we want is not aligned. We ask the question, if you're really focused on making something work and achieving this goal or achieving this vision, and you're really, really focused on taking lots of action on it, how is that actually different from hustle? We talk about the difference between goals and intentions, and we talk about SMART goals. We talk about why you have to be super clear on what the real goal is, because it might not be what you think it is, and why you've got to sometimes dig deeper when setting goals or intentions. We discuss how to get clear on what your soul wants you to do and why this is so key. We talk about why you need to align the superconscious, the conscious, the subconscious, and why all three of these bits need to come into play. We discuss why you have to do the inner work first to create a foundation on which to make stuff happen. We discuss why you need to feel high vibe throughout this whole process, and what does that actually mean? That's a really kind of airy-fairy, woo-sounding term that I never really understood until the last couple of weeks when I started really focusing on something that I'm trying to bring into creation. We talk about how to bounce back from setbacks along the way. We discuss how goal setting is different from manifesting. And we ask the question, when you're really, really focusing on something like I am, do you need to put everything else on hold? How do you live your normal life when you're really, really focused on something? So those are the things we discussed this week, and I hope you find this episode really interesting and useful. We think it's one of the best ones that we've done so far, We really got into it, and it's quite an extended episode, so I hope you find it useful. Please let me know what you thought. On to the episode. Hello, Joanna.
Hi, Holly.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So today we're talking about wanting something really enough.
I'd like to think so. I would love for the answer to that to be yes.
I'm so tempted to sing that Spice Girl song.
Oh, yeah. No, let's not.
Okay, yeah.
I think this is really important to talk about now because over the years, there's been just so much kind of manifesting information talked about, discussed online. And I think we all have access to a lot of these things that are being the books and the courses and whatever. And yet, it's kind of the same as our conversation about the transformational tools. Yet, a lot of us are not actually getting what we want. So we go through all these kind of manifesting formulas and processes and everything else, and they're not working, right?
Yeah. And I feel like The Secret was what really, really kicked this off. It was like very few people I know I had never really heard of law of attraction before that. And that sparked a massive kind of wave of awareness of this kind of type of manifesting and the word manifesting. I don't know. Were people talking about manifesting before that? I don't remember. I
don't think so. And I mean, to be totally honest, I only watched The Secret about 2 months ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's not how it started for me. Then I kind of resisted watching it because I heard from all these people that it was quite basic, and I kind of wanted to make up my own mind about the law of attraction and kind of explore on my own and experiment on my own and have my own conclusions before I was led by kind of this very general thing. So I only watched it a couple of months ago, and actually I really loved it. So with the understanding that I had by then, I was able to watch it and really, really love it.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much criticism of it. But I think it's such a great film and book because it helps you change your mindset at the conscious level. But I think it's a massive shift for people. Instead of focusing on what you don't want, focus on what you do want. Like, that's so basic. And yet so many people do not do it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a great kind of introduction to the concept, but I think where it fails is that it oversimplifies and doesn't really take you further or give you options for going further. Yeah. You have to kind of look for yourself. And that brings us to the topic of today's conversation, right? Because The Secret does kind of imply that wanting something is enough.
Yeah.
As I told you when we talked about this earlier today, for example, I've been wanting to lose weight for years, and yet it doesn't seem to be enough.
Me too.
So, and I'm sure there are other examples. I'm sure everybody has examples of stuff or experiences or whatever that they've wanted, even really, really wanted, and yet they haven't come to be. So what's going on?
And I think there are many examples of things that we've wanted and taken action towards and still haven't achieved it or still haven't gotten it.
Yeah, so I think there's just a lot of kind of deeper stuff to talk about when we talk about creating with intention, creating our own reality, all that kind of thing. But today we're going to tackle just one teeny weeny piece, which is that wanting piece.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Holly? Is wanting something really enough? And if not, then what's missing?
So much is missing. I don't think it's enough. I mean, I definitely think it's a start. You have to know what you want. And I think you also have to really, really want it. And I think you also have to do, as I always say, for me, it's a two-pronged approach. You've got to take the practical action, but you've also got to do the mindset stuff to get your mindset in gear to achieve that thing. However, there have been many times in the past where I've taken the action, I've done the mindset work, and I still haven't achieved something.
Yeah, well, I think it's time for you to share your big goal that you're currently manifesting with us, because this is going to be a totally different story, right?
Yeah.
So sometime soon-ish, hopefully, you'll be sharing with us how this time all worked. So why don't you tell us a bit about that?
Yes. So people that know me well and people that have followed me on Instagram probably know that I go to a place called Avebury every month. And I've been going there. Last year I was going there every other month, and then I stepped it up to every month. It's the largest stone circle in Europe, and it's one of my favorite places. I love the land. I love the walking. I love everything about it. And ever since August of last year, I've been staying at this one B&B that I really like. Love the B&B hostess. She's just lovely. We always sit down and have tea or wine and just chat. And I love the house. I love her garden. I love the view. Like, I love everything about it. And The last time I was there, she mentioned that she was putting the house on sale and she had put the house on the market that same day. And so I said to her, how much are you selling it for? Because I want to buy it. And this was 2 weeks ago. It wasn't that long ago. And ever since then, my number one focus has been doing everything I can do, both the inner work and the outer work, to buy this house, because I know at a very deep level that is our house and we will move in there. But I'm walking the steps now between thinking about it and moving into it. So that has been my main focus for the last 2 weeks.
And that's kind of how this conversation started, right? Because it's one thing to say, oh, great house, I would really love to live there. Oh, universe, deliver. It's a totally different thing to do what you're doing, right? Which is, I really want it. It's mine.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw everything at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not at the house, at the goal.
Well, let's keep the house clean.
Throw anything at the house.
Yeah.
So what's the difference, right? What's the difference between how you have usually approached things that you wanted, because you've wanted stuff before, obviously.
Yeah.
And now, like, what's the difference, you think? What's going to make this time different?
This is huge. It's like nothing I've ever experienced before, because first of all, I've never had that sensation of this thing, this big thing is mine. I just need to figure out how to get it. It's so different from any other goal I've ever set or every other thing I've wanted. It's like I know at this really deep level that it is ours, even though I don't know how to make it happen yet. And this has been, thank you for correcting me, because these last 2 weeks have been like nonstop getting help with this from you and from other professionals, working with myself, and just paying attention to every single detail and paying attention to every single detail of my mindset and being really precise about this.
And I think it's that level of focus and that level of detail, of attention to detail, that's going to produce a different result. That's certainly been my experience as well. And I think it takes it, like I always talk about the word want as an ego word. So in fact, it's not a really great word. It's a word of like a 2-year-old's temper tantrum. I want it, you know, and like, it should be mine.
I want the house.
But it's not kind of a word of willingness to go for. Right? So want is an ego word, and what's the soul equivalent? The soul level equivalent is choose for. So when you go into that, instead of saying I want the house, if you choose for the house, that it's immediately leads you into action, right? Whether that's mindset, energy, work, or like physical action, it leads you into that space because you're choosing for that. And I think that's really a key element. And maybe like you guys who are listening, if there's something that you want that hasn't manifested or that isn't, you feel manifesting fast enough, ask yourself, are you choosing for it? And are you choosing for it every day? Because Holly's doing all this stuff like every day. She's choosing for this house. She's choosing to focus her time and her energy on making this happen, or on allowing this to happen, on raising her vibration to match the vibration of something really big.
Yeah, and it feels like a full-time job. I mean, obviously I'm doing my normal work and running my business in the background and writing my books, but I'm spending a lot of time on this.
And maybe we should talk about, like, is that a good thing? Like, I don't think we want to say or agree with this kind of collective belief that we have here on Earth, that that you have to make something happen, and you make that something happen through hard work. So, you know, it's like a full-time job isn't maybe great energy, right? So are you hustling, Holly? Like, what's the difference?
Well, and that's something that has popped into my head because I'm so anti-hustle, and I've avoided the hustle in my business. And I think, well, is that what I'm doing now? And is that a bad thing? And should I be doing something else? It feels so good. It's so exciting. It's like everything I do, I'm like, oh, and I'm going to shift this, and I'm going to adjust this, and I'm going to do a few more beliefs. And then I need to call the mortgage guy, and I need to send the data to my accountant because he's doing my taxes. But it's like exciting. It's fun. It's not like, it doesn't have that same push energy that I've felt in the past when I was aware of hustling in my business. So let's talk about what is hustle.
Yeah, we actually looked it up because we asked this question in our preparation call earlier today. And we got a little bit stuck. So we actually looked up what hustle means. And hustle is defined as to push roughly, jostle, bump, knock, shove, nudge, elbow, shoulder. It's a forceful action word.
It's kind of a violently forceful action.
It is, isn't it? What a great word.
No wonder I hate that word.
And when we looked it up, we were also reminded that in slang, in North American slang, it also has a fraud element to it. So hustle, actually, to hustle someone isn't a good thing.
Yeah.
You're basically cheating them or or persuading them to do something that they don't want to do.
Yeah,
like
or conning them.
Money.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. That's the right word. But anyway, that's kind of, But it's something to pay attention to if we're talking about the vibration of words and language, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think you're hustling.
Good.
Just good. But I think it's interesting to notice the differences, right?
Yeah.
And I think you really nailed it in what you just said, in that you said it feels good.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key.
But it's a very different level of focus than I've ever had on anything before. Like, it's like a horse with blinders. It's like I can't see anything else. I can just see this one goal or intention. And it's like I'm going for it because I can't see anything else.
But that's the word that just came to me for that is not hustle, but commitment.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to be like, if you really like just wanting something isn't enough. Right?
Yeah.
Choosing for will mean that you're committed, because if you're choosing for it in every moment, then you're committed to becoming the person who can do whatever it is that you want to do. Buy that house, make that move, make that million, like whatever it is, right?
It's like I'm totally devoted to this house.
So what are you, listener, committed to or not committing to, right?
Yeah.
What are you devoted to? I think that devotion word is actually a great one to play with as well. I'm not convinced that I'm yet completely devoted to creating what I say I want.
Yeah.
And I think that makes a huge, huge, huge difference.
It does.
The commitment piece, I think I have, but the devotion piece, I'm not sure. I'm going to explore that later today.
And I have never felt this before. Like, I'm not one of those like type A driven people. And so I have never felt this level of devotion before to a goal or an intention.
Interesting. Is it time to maybe talk about the difference between a goal and an intention? We talked about this briefly.
Yeah, I think this is a really important difference that we need to call out here.
Yeah, so the way I understand it is that when you set a goal, there is a question of whether you can reach it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And when you set an intention, you know that it's inevitable. Like, there's no doubt. And the difference we identified is in the deadline, right?
Yeah. A goal is always time-bound. It always has a deadline.
And in fact, that's what we're taught to do. Like, we're taught to
smart
goals.
Yeah.
Right? And that there should be a deadline. Otherwise, you can't measure it and like all this stuff. Oh my God, smart goals are stupid.
I was just thinking that in my mind. So it's like, so if smart goals are smart, then does that mean intentions are stupid?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
We need a different acronym.
I know.
We should do that. Watch this space for different goal-related acronyms. So a goal has that doubt because you're striving to achieve something, but you're not entirely sure you're going to achieve it. You're hustling or working hard to achieve that goal by a certain deadline. Uh-huh. And if you don't make it by the deadline, you fail, right? You fail in achieving the goal, and that doesn't feel good.
No.
Nobody likes to not achieve their goals, right? And then whereas when you set an intention, you know that it will happen. So that like we know that this house is yours, but there's no timeline.
As I hear you say that, it's like part of me knows that you're right because I know that that's how this house is going to work out. But another part of me, the part of me that trained as a coach and trained how to help people set SMART goals is like, you're never going to get it if you don't set your SMART goal with your milestones and your deadline. And if you don't have a deadline, it's never going to happen. And I know that deadlines have helped me in the past. And like, so there's a part of me that's like, yes, I know you're right. And there's a part of me that's like, but it has to be structured.
I like structure as well. And I think like setting milestones and stuff like that can be useful to keep you moving.
Yeah.
So otherwise you kind of end up in this no man's land of waiting for something to happen. But I think we just discovered this difference in this piece, in our preparatory conversation. So we're kind of exploring it live here with you. But like that no timeline piece came about because we were talking about detaching from the outcome and how you can, if it's even possible, to desire something and be committed and devoted to it in that like all-encompassing way. and then still be detached from the outcome. That doesn't make any sense. And what we were saying about Holly's house was that if there's no timeline, then if she doesn't get it now, it doesn't mean that she was wrong in feeling that it was hers, right? It just, maybe somebody else will buy it and Holly will buy it from them.
Yeah.
But that's kind of detaching from that very specific time-driven timeline. And maybe that's where the divine timing piece comes in. I don't know.
Yeah. And that's so hard to accept because we're so hardwired to be like, I want it and I want it now.
It is hard to accept. I mean, I think you do have to set a deadline for yourself. I mean, otherwise, why would you be putting in all that commitment now? Like, it does drive you a little bit.
Yeah.
It?
Like, I want it by summer because when you guys come to visit, I want us all to be having dinner, like, in the conservatory and out in the garden.
We're putting this out there now.
Universe!
My family and I are taking a trip to the UK and to Ireland this July, and on our way back, we're going to be staying at Holly's B&B in Avebury.
Hear that, universe?
I think you have to work it out for yourself. So I'm really against, as I know you are, Holly, formulas and whatever. Like, we can't actually give anybody formula for how to make something happen. You do have to be very aware of yourself and your needs and what kind of drives you forward. So, like, I recently realized that I really need a goal. Yeah. Like, otherwise, like, for the past few months, I haven't really been putting myself out there at all because I didn't have anything to work towards. And now I have this kind of new dream. I feel all riled up again. I'm just like, oh, okay, so I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And it is making me put myself out there because I know I'm creating something that I really want to experience. So I have a time.
Exactly. And the same thing happened to me with my writing. Once I decided that I was going to release quarterly books, quarter one is already gone, but I've got 3 books planned for quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. And that has gotten me excited. And I just spent the last weekend on a workcation weekend working on the book for Q2. So I like that structure too. And it really helps me plan and take action.
Yeah. So you just need to know yourself, right? Like what keeps you taking action and kind of stepping out into maybe bits that are more uncomfortable or keep like doing the things that will move you forward.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, what feels good to you, right? Because for some people that structure will be great. And for some people, it just won't work.
Yeah.
And there is no one way. I think if we're talking about energy and vibration, then the most important thing is that it feels good to you.
Yeah. As you're taking action, because there's a part of me that hears you say that, it feels good. And I'm thinking, well, there's going to be someone listening to this. It's going to be like I'm lying down on my couch and, staring at the ceiling feels good to me.
Okay, well, maybe we need to quantify or qualify, whatever the word is, quantify, get clearer on what that means.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just feeling good in general, because, lying down on the couch and looking at the ceiling is also fine.
If you're visualizing.
Even not. Maybe that's what you want to do today.
Yeah, and maybe you need a break.
Right, so I think that you still need to feel good, but I think you need to feel good about your goal, right?
Yeah.
If you're manifesting, if you're trying to create something really specific and something really big, like a house or a big international move or something like that, then you're not going to be feeling good if nothing's happening towards that. Yeah. You're not. And if you are, then maybe you don't want it as much as you say you do.
Yeah.
So you have to be feeling good about how you're moving forwards towards your goal, no?
Yeah. And you have to be moving like there has to be some kind of momentum forwards. I think that's what I meant when I said if it can't feel good to just be lying at the ceiling. Looking at the ceiling.
You mean like for a week at a time?
Yeah, exactly. Like there has to be some kind of movement forward, I think.
And it's like, I like Netflix days, like when and I don't judge myself for that anymore, but I imagine I've never had the need for that to continue for a long period of time. But I imagine by, day 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, it won't feel good anymore.
Yeah.
And then I'll be ready to take some more action. Yeah. And that'll feel good. It might not feel good to you to take action every single day. I'd go in kind of peaks and,
you might need downtime. You might need recovery time.
But that's why it's so important to have this awareness of how things work for you. And you can't know that until you start experimenting and paying attention, right?
And you have to be hyper self-aware throughout the entire process. Because I know in the last 2 weeks, I have become so even more self-aware of my mindset and where I am. And when I have a setback, and I have had setbacks, I would say every single day I've had at least one small setback. And that has dragged me down. But I have chosen to lift myself up by either doing more mindset work or by taking another action or by seeing other possibilities or by brainstorming other options. I have taken action to choose to bring my mindset up to a higher vibration.
That's the commitment piece, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the choice and the commitment. So everybody's going to have setbacks. I mean, I can imagine, my goal as well, like I'm going to have setbacks because it's a really big thing. I might as well just tell everybody what that is, right?
May as well. Since we're coming clean about our crazy goals.
It's starting a little bit vague, sounding a bit vague. So I want to buy a house in Ireland. Currently, we're thinking of Galway. And I want to buy that mortgage free. So I want to pay cash. And it's not a small house. Let's just be clear. But I have my needs.
You have your standards.
My standards that I'm not willing to compromise on. We have a few years to do this. But that's a really, really huge goal. Because I've never been the one with loads of money in the bank, let's say. So this is a big thing for me to put that together. To I imagine that there will be setbacks.
Yeah.
Like if you don't choose to move forward or to get your vibration back up, then you're not committed to the goal. And then that's not a bad thing. But again, like, is it something that you want? So you have to keep, when I think about commitment and like recommitting, I think of the hand fasting concept, which is the old pagan traditional way of marrying someone. It was like all my messages. Now it's like, I'm just going to skip that bit because like that just doesn't excite me. I'm just like, I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm just going to skip that bit. Like whenever I took a course and there was self-love kind of module at the start, I'm like, I'm just going to skip to the good bits. Like, I don't care for that. I'm sure I'm fine. So it doesn't come naturally. So it's like, for sure, like, don't, beat yourself up if you're like me and don't want to do the self-love stuff. Because that's actually the biggest part of the work. That's the piece, right?
Yeah.
Everything else has an opportunity to fall into place. That's your place of power. Your personal power comes from that. It comes from you.
Yeah.
So your heart, as in Holly's process and the heart-centered energy work.
So one thing that I've learned, I'd heard this for years about staying high vibe as you're manifesting stuff, but I never really understood what that meant until the last 2 weeks of doing this work. So why is it so important to feel high vibe, high vibration, and what the heck does that mean? And I think you have a really different perspective on this that you received from your guides. So talk to us about that. Like, what is high vibe and what is it not?
Yeah, so it's not what most people think it is, which is excitement. I mean, we are meant to follow our highest excitement, yes. So if you have choices of what to do, what to create, whatever, follow your highest excitement and you'll know instinctively what that is. But that's not actually high vibration. High vibration, to be of a high vibration, is to be confident in and kind of rooted in your power. My guide said that the high vibration is a stable energy. It's a sustainable, calm, stable energy. It is not that excitement. You need the excitement, they said, to lift off. I think we were working with the rocket.
The rocket analogy.
So you need the excitement to take off, to lift off. But what's going to keep you in the air, let's say, and moving further is that stable, high vibration energy. At the end of the day, what is high vibration? It's love, joy, right? It's that. It boils down to that. So to stay high vibration, it doesn't mean to like ignore your negative thoughts and just make sure you're positive thinking, all that kind of thing. To stay high vibration means to do the things that make you feel powerful and confident and in your power. So like mindset work is a great example, because when you do your mindset work, you feel like you're proactive in what's happening rather than just reactive, right?
Yeah. And you're focusing on what you do want rather than what you don't want. So when those setbacks come and you start to feel disappointed and your vibe goes down because you're like, oh, this is never going to happen because then you've got to kind of stop and choose. I'm going to lift myself up again by doing some mindset work, by taking some action, whatever. And that helps you get that momentum going again and getting that vibe up and getting that confidence up. So
it's that power piece, right?
Yeah.
I think your explanation of the falling vibration was exactly right? Because we say it's never going to happen, and that's just saying what's behind that, right? When we say that it's never going to happen, it means
I'm not good enough.
I'm not good enough, and there's something beyond my control that will keep this at bay. So it's impossible for me to do anything about it from like my vantage point.
Yeah, because you're putting the power outside yourself.
Yeah.
And you can't afford to stay in that vibration for too long. You've got to choose to make another decision and lift yourself up. You can't indulge that crappy crap.
don't want to, do you? I mean, it doesn't feel good.
No, and
Sometimes
it
you wanna
really
indulge
takes
it.
you off track.
So you can indulge it for a little bit, but I would definitely commit to choosing something different, to choosing to feel better. And I will say, because I think it's overwhelming, and I don't know, we're only human, right? So, yeah. All right, there's something there as well
that might be a limiting belief.
But not today.
Yeah.
But it's okay to feel the negative emotions. Like, those are clues, right? So again, like if you say it's never going to happen, are you going to choose for it, or are you going to choose to do something else?
Yeah.
And keep in mind that, if it's overwhelming to like say to yourself that you have to stay in this high vibration, powerful, confident space all the time, you don't. You just have to stay in it for more often than you don't.
Yeah.
So it's like a percentage game. Right?
Yeah.
51% of the time.
Is 51% enough?
I don't know. I mean, I've never tested it to that amount of detail, but I know that I have manifested sold out masterminds and stuff like that. Even though I would have plenty of days when I felt that it's never going to happen, because then people signed up at the last minute. So I'm just saying that, like, not to give up. Like, if you have those days, or even if you notice that you're having, well, probably if you notice that you're having a lot of those days, then you want to look at the patterns and change those beliefs. And then you can work with Holly, or you can work with me, or you can work with someone else to do that, or tackle them on your own. So so recognize the patterns, but like if you have a bad day, that's okay. Like it hasn't everything.
Yeah, it's not like everything's gone to hell because you spent all day watching Netflix and eating ice cream. So we keep throwing around the word manifesting. And I know we've kind of addressed this already today, but I feel like we need to spell it out for people. Like, what is the difference between manifesting and goal setting?
You ask good questions, Holly.
That's why we're here. To have a good conversation. Because you can answer these questions.
It's not the same thing at all.
No, it's not.
I mean, that's totally different. Goal setting, manifesting is creating.
Creating your reality.
Creating your reality.
Yeah.
So everything in your life, look around, whatever. I seem to have manifested an enormous mess in my office.
Time for me to come and visit.
Yeah, Holly, yes. So manifesting is creating your reality, and you do that whether you think you're doing that or not. What we're talking about here, in fact, is not manifesting, it's manifesting with intention, which is slightly different. Yeah. Manifest is allowing, like the way I think of it, it's allowing things into your experience, into your reality. So the way I explain it to clients is it's not that, you want a Ferrari and one will kind of magically appear in front of you, right? It's that you're allowing something into your experience. So right now, whatever it is that you want, you're keeping it at bay because of old beliefs or conflicting beliefs or whatever it is, or not enough action, like whatever that is. And then once you allow it into your experience, you'll see it. Like it's like always been there, most likely. Yeah. But you'll be able to see it. That's kind of how I talk about it in terms of like manifesting the right opportunities or whatever. We're not kind of creating clients out of thin air.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? We're just we're seeing them and we're letting them into our experience. Whereas goal setting it just seems like choosing something
and then taking action towards it.
Well, goal setting is just goal setting, right?
Yeah.
Next year.
Yeah. Goal setting is just setting that SMART goal. But then what follows from it is taking the action towards it, which is usually kind of the outer work and not necessarily the inner work, which I think is vital to go along with it.
Okay, so I think so instead of reaching your goal the smart way, in air quotes, the usual way, or manifesting a goal, I would say the difference is in the vibration piece. So when you're setting a goal, you're moving towards it. You're kind of in that linear space. If I want to write a book, that means I need to take these steps, right? Whereas with manifesting, you would probably want to align with the vibration of author.
Right. I think this is a very important distinction. I think it's a very important description because I think a lot of people see manifesting as being a very passive thing.
Oh, no.
Right. You and I don't see it that way, but I think a lot of people who don't fully understand the concept think, oh, I'm just going to set the intention and poof, I'm going to manifest this thing. And that's...
Well, sometimes I think magic can happen.
Yeah.
But I think that's dependent on your energy field, right? So if you set an intention to which you have already released the resistance and released the old beliefs and crap, then yes, I think it can manifest in an instant. Okay. I actually do believe that, and I think that's the difference. But usually we'll be choosing an intention that's a bit stretchy.
Yeah, exactly.
That we're not quite aligned with. We need a transcript of this because I want that in writing.
We'll get one.
Because I think that's really, really interesting.
Okay, so one thing that I think is really important to point out here is we've talked about commitment and devotion. So when you're focusing on a big intention like this, do you need to put everything else on hold and just focus on this one thing, like tunnel vision? Or
what are you doing, Holly?
Okay. So what I'm doing is, it is absolutely taking up a lot more time than I thought. And this is one of the fascinating parts of this journey, because I've been spending a good at least 2 or 3 hours a day between the mindset work, between the practical action work, between visualizing, that kind of thing. And I said this to you earlier, and it's not true. I said to you earlier that it's like a full-time job, and it's obviously not, because I'm running my business and doing work in the background. But it's taking up a lot of my thoughts and a lot of my perspective and a lot of my, like, the house pops into my head like a lot during the day, even when I'm not actively working on it. And I'm bringing it up in conversation with my husband, like he was barbecuing the other night, and I said, in the new house, you'll have more room to barbecue. Stuff like that. So I'm always bringing it up so that I'm painting that reality for the future. Or like in the new house, we get to buy lots more furniture for the cats so that they can have like a cat tower in every room. Stuff like that. It's constantly coming up even when I'm not fully focused on it. So not putting everything else on hold, but I have put the extras on hold. So for example, every year I usually walk a long distance trail. And my husband said to me the other day, he's like, you still haven't like told me where you're going this year. Have you started planning it? I said, that's on hold. I don't have time for that now. So like the extras are on hold. I'm doing the normal life stuff, but not the extra stuff. So I'm not planning extra trips. I'm not planning extra stuff.
It all boils down to how it feels to you, right?
Feels good.
I think that's the answer, right?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe for some people it wouldn't feel good because they'll feel like they have to give stuff up. For example, like for our goal, for the buying the house mortgage free, it would feel really, really bad to me. And this would be the logical thing to do, right? The logical thing to do right now would be to say, okay, all spending is minimalized.
Yeah.
Everything goes to our house fund. That would feel really horrible to me because I like to go shopping and I like to live a fairly nice life and kind of not worry about that stuff.
Yeah. I think for me, it's a mental bandwidth issue more than anything. It's like I don't have mind space to focus on extra stuff. So I am focusing on the house and on all the stuff I need to do to get the house. And then also my normal like business work in the background. But I can't focus on extra stuff like planning a walk.
Okay, but that's also because your current kind of phase 1 deadline is short.
Yeah, exactly.
Not sure you'd be able to keep that up for 2 years.
Oh, no.
Right?
No. And I think that's an excellent point. Like, we want to move into the house this summer, and the current homeowner wants to be out of the house by September. So our timelines both coincide.
Yeah, so it's short term. And again, like, it feels good, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe like when I'm like on the last stretch, the last 5 months, let's say, maybe it'll feel good to me to like to limit spending so that everything can go, because we know we're so close.
Yeah.
At this point, it would feel bad to me. I would become resentful.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's not a good energy to be in, obviously.
Yeah.
So I just really think you need to be very mindful of whether you're putting things on hold for the right reasons, right? Because I also like, when I was manifesting this, I didn't know I was manifesting, but when I wanted to pass this exam that I took a few years ago, many years ago now, actually, 15 years ago. I gave up everything. I prided myself. Like when people ask me how I passed this super, super, super difficult exam with lots of competition, I said that I gave up everything for 6 months. Like I didn't go out. I didn't like my one focus, and I prided myself on that. But I had many success requires hard work beliefs back then. And I don't particularly want to do it that way now.
Yeah.
And if I did it that way now, it would still feel hard worky.
Yeah.
And I don't, also that's the wrong vibration for me. So again, I think the answer to that question is to be very, very mindful of how you feel.
Exactly. So I'm dedicating a lot of time to this, but it doesn't feel hard work. It feels really exciting and good.
So then that's the right thing for you. Right?
Yeah.
But it's a good question for everybody to consider because it's like commitment and devotion. It can mean like let go of everything else.
Yeah.
And you might naturally let go of the things that no longer matter or feel as important or whatever, right?
Yeah, exactly. So have we answered the question? Is wanting something really enough?
I think we've answered it with no.
And I think we've given people enough options of what you can do instead.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And obviously, if any of you guys listening have any questions, then feel free to contact us. You can email me on joanna@joannahennon.com or just message me on Facebook.
Yep.
And Holly
at hollywharton.com.
So if you have any questions, something's unclear, then get in touch and let's have that conversation, because it's in the conversations that I think we can go deeper.
Yeah, I agree.
Making time for this, making space for this is really, really important. So.
I agree. Yay. Here's to moving.
Here's to moving. And it's been great, Holly. Thank you for this conversation and for such awesome questions. I think this was really good. So.
Yeah, I think so too. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye. So I hope you enjoyed that. Please drop me a line and let me know what you thought about this week's show. You can email me at holly@hollywharton.com or find me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram and get in touch. I would also love for you to join me in my private Facebook group, Business Mindset Alchemists, so we can continue the conversation there. Podcasting is such a one-way conversation. You've just been listening to this for the last hour and haven't been able to tell me what you think. So I would love to get some feedback from you in the group. Business Mindset Alchemists is a group dedicated to exploring business mindset and how you can get the mindset you need to achieve your dreams in business and in life, because it's all related. So if you head over to hollywharton.com/group, you will be redirected to the Facebook group. Again, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a quick review on Apple Podcasts or on iTunes. It would mean the world to me. And remember to visit hollywharton.com/253 for the show notes on this episode. Next week, I will be back with another solo episode. See you then. Thank you so much for listening to the Business Mindset Podcast. You can find more information about today's episode, including links for the topics that were discussed, at hollywharton.com. If you'd like to connect with other listeners and learn more about business mindset, join my private community for entrepreneurs at hollywharton.com/group. That will redirect you to the Facebook group. And if you enjoyed this episode, please remember to head over to iTunes and leave a quick review of this podcast. It just takes a minute. Thank you so much.